The next story, New York Post editorial board, the Clintons are in denial about Bill's sex scandals. There's a number of these stories today, variations, one degree or another. This is a New York Post editorial. So the editorial board put this together. Even though Donald Trump had already warned that Bill Clinton's past indiscretions would be fair game in the presidential race, Clinton seemed surprised to face the issue as he began to take a prominent role in his wife's campaign. Asked by ABC News if his past should be fair game, Clinton stammered for several seconds about how the Republicans have to decide who they want to nominate before declaring, I think there's always attempts to take the election away from the people. He didn't, I mean, literally, he was asked if his past peccadillos are fair game, and Clinton said, well, you know what, the Republicans are going to have to decide who they want to nominate, and I think there's always going to be attempts to take the election away from people. All right. He didn't go there. Answers incoherent. Then there was a New Hampshire rally, and Hillary was heckled by somebody who asked about previous sexual assault claims against Bill. And Hillary dismissed the heckler by saying, that's rude. That's a rude question. But look at what's happening. You've got terrorism, immigration. This thing is happening in Germany now. Have you seen the latest of what's going on? I should get into that. After all of this immigration in Germany that Angela Merkel opened her arms and welcomed in, now women are getting raped left and right in Germany. Cologne, they're being sexually abused. And you know what? They're being told to be less seductive. The women of Germany are being blamed for it. You've got to learn. You've got to understand what's happened. You've got to understand the kind of men that have been permitted to come into Germany here, and it's up to you to not be sexually abused or raped. You've got to understand what kind of people we've let. So it's the people of Germany who are being told, hey, you got to learn who we let in here, and you've got to change the way you behave accordingly. It's huge. There are 3 stories alone on that I was able to put my fingertips on. And we got Clinton and this sex scandal. Here you got these big stories out there, immigration, terrorism, and Hillary and Bill are being asked about Monica Lewinsky and Paula Jones and Kathleen Willey and all this and being heckled about it. And in the midst of all this, Hillary Clinton is trying to make women's issues central to her campaign because she wants to try to continue this silliness that the Republicans are conducting some kind of war on women. Well, when she wants to talk about women's issues, she's got to talk about such things as sexual assault and harassment and campus rape. And she's got to condemn all the men who do it. She has to universally support all the women who claim they have been raped or abused. She's even publicly said that every woman should be believed. We shouldn't question any woman who claims it. From a woman who called women who erupted against her husband bimbos. The very people Mrs. Clinton now says we need to believe. We never need to doubt. We need to take them at their word. These are the very women that the Clinton administration, led by Hillary and Betsy Wright, tried to destroy when they erupted and said that Bill Clinton had harassed them or abused them or worse. And Trump has let it be known that all of that is fair game. If Hillary's going to start running around as a champion of women's rights and defending women against predatory men, well, hell, there's a predatory man that happens to be married to Hillary. And his actions as president are fair game. And there's another story here in the stack about how the Clintons don't seem to be aware of how they are vulnerable on this. Let's see if I can, New York Post, another story, but it's, it's a lib. It's this guy, Ken Silverstein, writing in the New York Observer. I think it says here the Observer. I think it's the New York Observer. This is one of the most convoluted stories I've ever read. Let me just read a pull quote from this. This guy is an avowed leftist, as he would be, writing for the New York Observer. His piece is about the Jeffrey Epstein affair. Now, Jeffrey Epstein is a huge, huge Democrat donor. He has donated to major universities, funding libraries, any number of science departments. He's done everything he can to clean up his image. But this is the guy who 12 and 15-year-old girls at his house for massages. This is the guy that, Prince Andrew would show up. Anyway, Bill Clinton's flown all over the world in this guy's jet. This guy has a private island where it's filled with teenage girls doing massages for Epstein and his guests, and Bill Clinton has been a frequent guest. Epstein's flown Clinton all over the world for supposed Clinton charitable efforts and who knows whatever else. Epstein spent a year in jail here in West Palm Beach after being convicted of some sort of stuff going on in his home here. Now, so far, Clinton has escaped any direct allegation. He has not been identified by any of the teenage girls that were employed here or used. But you still can't get past the fact or get beyond that Clinton has been in the presence of all of this, and he's been palling around with the guy who ran the whole operation, Jeffrey Epstein. So we've got this guy in the Observer writing a story about it. The Jeffrey Epstein affair imperils Hillary Clinton's presidential prospects. The case of the high-flying pedophile reveals a broken American political precedent. This guy's a liberal Democrat. Now, I want to read you pull quotes here, 2 paragraphs. By the way, do you hear what Joy Behar said on The View the other day? When Clinton's past, when Clinton's sexual predatory behavior came up, Joy Behar said she would vote for a rapist if the rapist votes liberal. Which means that she already has. But she made it clear, if the candidate's a conservative and the Democrat's a rapist, she's supporting the rapist if he's liberal. He gets the benefit of the doubt. Yep, let me take a break here. If I got started here, I'm going to go blowing through it, and it'll be bad for the programming format. Sit tight. We'll continue in a moment. Don't go away. Okay, this guy's name is Ken Silverstein. I don't know who he is. He just is a writer for the New York Observer column. What does it say here? Ken Silverstein, staff writer at Harper's, the LA Times. So he's a drive-by. Right, so listen to these 2 paragraphs. Again, the headline: The Jeffrey Epstein affair imperils Hillary Clinton's presidential prospects. Right? What's worse, at least from my personal standpoint, is that if Mrs. Clinton were to become the Democrat nominee, I still might vote for her. This is after he writes all the problems with Bill and his past and Hillary defending him and all the bimbo stuff. At least from my personal standpoint, is that if Mrs. Clinton were to become the nominee, I still might vote for her because the likely Republican candidates have retrograde and vile public views about race, class, gender, and gay rights. And those are important to me, and especially because the 2 main parties are virtually indistinguishable when it comes to fundamental economic policy. Remind me to comment on that later. Because both are bought and paid for by Wall Street and financiers like Jeffrey Epstein, as well as other powerful interests who overwhelmingly fund our political. So there's no difference in the 2 parties economically. So he's got to go with Mrs. Clinton no matter what this other stuff, because Republicans are racist, sexist, bigot, homophobes, okay? But then the next paragraph. Actually, I might not vote for Hillary Clinton if she becomes a nominee, but I probably will if my college-age daughter asks me. Even though I don't think she likes Miss Clinton all that much, and I expect that she likes her husband less, she's appalled and outraged by the GOP's Stone Age social politics, and because she would like to see a woman become president. And that's a good enough reason for me. Maybe. This is why the Epstein affair is a national disgrace and shines a bright light on the current tragedy of American democracy and this country's abysmal national political and media elites. So, the Republicans are so vile. They've got such a Stone Age social policy. And his daughter hates the Republicans. I might vote for Hillary, even though I might not. Even though the Epstein affair is a national disgrace and shines a bright light on the current tragedy of American democracy in this country's what's the tragedy? This is a Clinton thing. Epstein's a Democrat. What is this national tragedy crap? The Republicans haven't done diddly squat the last 7 years. What in the world is there to oppose? The Republicans haven't stood for anything. And I'm talking about standing up and announcing opposition and actually trying to push back or stop any of this. There hasn't been. They might privately oppose it, but they haven't taken any action to stop any of this. That's my whole... Why is Mrs. Clinton, as her campaign says, trying to fix what's broken? How is anything broken? The Democrats have had 7 years now into our 8th year of doing exactly what they want to do. Why isn't she running around promising to continue this? Remember George H.W. Bush, when he ran in 1988, promised the Reagan years were so great that his campaign was, my presidency will be the third Reagan term. Well, why isn't Mrs. Clinton saying? Why is she running around promising to fix this? The economy's broken. How can it be broken? What tragedy? I'd say these people are so convoluted and deluded and deranged. It's dangerous. That's right, a man, a legend, a way of life. Okay, so this guy Silverstein in the New York Observer, I mean, essentially what this guy said as he's going away, I can, from my personal standpoint, Mrs. Clinton were to become the nominee, I might vote for her, but then I might not. I might not. But I might. Depends on what my daughter does. But I can't vote for Republicans. Stone Age social policies. Rapists, sexist, bigots. Right. So here's a guy openly admitting that he would vote for people that support baby butchers and abortionists, that he would vote for people who have been involved in sexual harassment, perhaps rape, sexual predatory abuse, Bill Clinton, and friends of pedophiles. He would much prefer to support friends of pedophiles, baby butchers, and abortionists, and sexual abusers than Republicans and their Stone Age social policies. And this guy is not alone. They think they are enlightened. These people are inflicting great damage on our culture, whether they are aware of it or not.